chairs, maybe. You want to chair? Here's a chair. Welcome. Krishna. Keep singing. You can take a. I'm going to bring that space heater because it's still cold. They haven't turned on yet. I don't know, maybe something's wrong.
Half an hour maybe to get
Right.
Oh, that's fine. Let's do page 164.
164.
164. Babu he mana juma.
I was hoping we'd have one song from Pandita, but Pandita, are you there? I saw her taking off her cook's hat, getting ready for her kirtan hat. Hasn't quite made it. Paging Pandita.
You are being summoned.
What did you say?
Yeah.
I saw her right by the door. Like I think she must be very close.
Must be very close. It's just the final step, you know?
Are there any more kirtan books left?
Do you need one? There's some
Yeah.
around. You can
Okay.
share your chantras.
Okay.
It's so nice to see you anytime. I was afraid I might not see you this time. You met our new friend in that.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't met him yet?
No,
Okay.
no, no.
Oh, that's right. Because you didn't make it for Gurudev's Vyasa.
Are you from the States?
Yeah. I flew in from California.
Oh, nice. How long are you here for?
About like 2 more.
Oh, okay. That's cool. You going back or going somewhere else?
I'm going like on a whole.
And
world
is it
road
your
trip, going to
birthday?
Hungary, and
Okay.
Spain for the first
18th
time.
today.
No,
No, it was in October, but
It's gonna be like
her
the
grandparents
first
came
time.
from
Yeah.
India.
Oh, that's
Oh.
To celebrate my
Okay.
birthday, so they are here now. So we
I
are doing it
see.
today.
What day in October?
7th October.
7th. Okay. Mine is the 4th.
Oh, we should celebrate you all this time together.
So everything is
18th.
one thing.
rolling, you know.
And
Yeah.
what is her name?
Really
Sohani.
Sohani, and it's her. She's your daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. You're from Bengal originally.
No, we are from North India.
Okay.
Chandigarh,
Okay.
yeah, my in-laws are coming
No,
from
no, no.
Chandigarh.
Okay.
But
Right, what is her
yeah, I
name?
mean
again?
like
Sohani.
as soon as I said
Sohani.
yes to
What
one
is
thing,
your
you know,
name?
more things.
Gauri.
Gauri.
Yeah. And your name?
Vishakha.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're
she
telling me that
is.
Vishakha Mataji. Oh, it's a pleasure, yeah. That you'll be blessed to listen to your kirtan today.
Baja Haruma.
All right. Here's Pandita. Yeah, Vajravrema. I think that's the consensus.
What page is that?
155, I think. 155. Do you want to follow in the book or?
Yeah, no, we are not very great at all this.
Here.
just hearing the party.
Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Shri Shri Guru Rang Sundar Radha Giri Hari Ju ki Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Acharya Vrinda ki Jai Seva Vrinda ki Jai Ananta Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Jai Gaur Premanand
Hari Bol.
Yukta Vishakha Devi Dasi.
Jai.
Well, we feel so blessed to be here and be able to join this wonderful kirtan. Words cannot describe actually. Because the kirtan here, it is not just that it is, expertly performed, but it is coming from heart, and actually that requires genuine practice, right? Because anybody can learn some words and they can learn how to play some instruments and make a nice presentation, but to actually be able to present with some potency, right, and with some heart, that means that day in, day out, you are following the teachings, right? And this is the practice of pure devotion, right? Where this is not just something that we're talking about or following in a ritualistic or external way, but we really want to give our hearts to this. We want to make this a conscious cultivation, within our lives. And not something that we do once a week or on big festival days, but day by day we are trying to think of this, our higher purpose in life. And seeing our assembly forming today, I was reminded of the beginnings of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our principal scripture, which is discussing Krishna and Krishna Bhakti. And the beginning is very intriguing. It starts with this Parikshit Maharaj, who's been cursed to die within 7 days. Which sounds like a terrible thing, but actually, with the right angle of vision, everything is wonderful. A few days ago, one of my friends was telling me of one occasion. One gentleman was struggling with some situation, and my friend mentioned to our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, oh, so-and-so is struggling so much with this, and our Guru, and saying like he felt pity for that person. And our Gurudev, he said, actually, if he thinks it is bad, it is bad. If he thinks it is good, it is good. As simple as that. Everything actually depends on our consciousness. And then shortly after that, I was sharing this with another friend, and they told me of another situation where someone was in prison, and there was some circumstance there they were facing, and they mentioned it to our Gurudev, and like prison is a shameful thing, something like this, and our Gurudev he replied, Lord Krishna was born in prison. Lord Krishna was born in prison. This is like when we're approaching spiritual consciousness, this is what we call the Nirguna Plane. It's a plane that is devoid of any material conditions, right? Normally we judge things in this plane according to our particular set of prejudices, preconceptions. We all have our own calculation of what's good and what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, right? But they're all based upon the duality of this mundane plane, right? But when we are approaching the Nirguna Plane, means the plane that is free from mundane qualities, mundane duality, which is in connection with the eternal flow of reality. None of these things matter anymore, And there's one verse by Rupa Goswami, one of our principal teachers, which I'm reminded of. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparat vena nirmalam rishikesha rishikena Sevanam bhaktir uchyate. It is a definition of the highest type of bhakti, highest type of devotion. And the first thing mentioned is sarvopadi vinirmuktam. Means it is free from all types of upadis. Upadi means any type of material designation. That I'm beautiful, that I'm ugly, that I'm rich, that I'm poor, that I'm clever, that I'm stupid, and so on. You know, that I'm healthy, that I'm sick, that I'm fat, that I'm thin, I'm old and wrinkled, or I'm young and beautiful. These are all temporary material designations, right? I'm the Prime Minister of England, you know, I'm the President of America, I'm a street bum, I'm a street beggar, I'm a drug addict, I'm a politician. These are all mundane designations, right? That I'm British, Indian, American, African. These are all temporary identities, right? So when we are approaching the Lord in a spirit of pure devotion, we are leaving all these things behind, you know? And that is something that is very special about these temples. You know? Like I've heard of this concept of diplomatic immunity. I don't know if that's exactly the right way to convey this idea, but it's like when you enter this zone, none of those things matter anymore. Or like, sorry, what did you say?
Will understand a bit more.
Oh, you want to translate?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
A few words.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Or do you want me to?
Oh no, I cannot
You can't,
translate.
okay,
No.
no.
I know a
You
few
didn't-
words of Bengali, but I don't know
Not in
Hindi at all.
Okay,
Not
yeah,
at all.
that's fine,
No.
no problem. Mama, थोड़ा आ रहा है clear है थोड़ा words पापा.
Oh, from now on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pause. Okay. Well, I'm saying that when we are approaching the Lord, we are leaving behind our mundane, temporary identifications.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. I'll tell them later.
Okay.
So it's hard to translate straight.
Oh, okay. But maybe this is a better way to convey the idea. These temples are like embassies, right? They're embassies of Vaikuntha, embassies of Goloka, embassies of the spiritual world, right? So it's like if you're in a foreign country, right, and you've maybe created some trouble in that country, but if you go into your local embassy, nobody can touch you, right? It works like that, right? So like that, when somebody enters these doors, they're on different territory. Even now I'm remembering, there are some countries where they won't arrest you if you're within the vicinity of a church. Something like that. I've heard some country. You've heard of that before? Yeah. Can you say more? I can't remember the details.
Sometimes they give people refuge there because the police can't enter and arrest you.
And that's in several countries, or you've heard of it too, yeah. So it's a thing.
India also you can't. If you're in a temple or a gurdwara, they don't.
They won't arrest you.
They won't arrest you. That's what I've heard about.
I think maybe it's just like the warrant thing, because the
A
police
what
officers
thing?
are not allowed to enter
the
a place without a warrant, a search warrant.
Yeah.
So it's like the majority of the countries you're not allowed to enter the church. If
Okay, that's another conversation. But thank you. So the point that we're making here is that once you enter these are sacred grounds, right? This is a different zone.
Something you can relate about that you all are having a laugh about?
Oh, no, it's just he wasn't quite following the thread of the conversation, our friend. He was going in a slightly different direction.
Oh, okay. Because it's something which you are trying to relate to there.
No. But this is the main idea, right? That once because what is our true identity? That we are eternal soul, we are Atma.
Yeah.
And everything else is temporary. In this lifetime, we have a particular body, particular social background, etc. But in our previous birth, it was something completely different. And in our next birth, it could be completely different. So here, everything is being considered from the perspective of eternity and our eternal relationship with the divinity, with Lord Krishna. So when someone enters these grounds, all that judgment goes out of the window. All those considerations, they go out of the window. This is the idea. So, sarva padi vinirmuktam. And then this phrase, this is the phrase I was coming to, which is very interesting. Tat paradvena nirmalam. That nirmal means pure, right? That which is free from any defect, any impurity, any spot. So this phrase, tat paradvena nirmalam, this is quite a revolutionary expression. That purity should be considered according to how much it is in connection with the center. Paratvena means this Param Atma, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme, the Divine. So this is the Nirguna Plane. It is stripped of any type of mundane conditions, material conditions. How much is it in consideration of the higher interest, of the divine interest? It is a completely different calculation. It is a radical way to consider things. Persons will not be assessed according to what good or bad they have done in the mundane plane, but how much have they given their hearts towards that eternal flow, towards the current of divinity, towards our beloved Lord. So this is the culture of pure devotion. And we're very happy that we have many guests who have come today in honor of an 18th birthday. Sunaya? Sohani. Yeah, Sohani. Oh, we can bring another chair. There's chairs here, yeah. And actually, it is a very wonderful thing to see that, at a young age, she has this, like how many 18-year-olds say, oh, I want to go to the temple for my birthday.
She has been associated with all this, I think, when she was 5 or 6 years old. We had been meeting to the temple.
Wonderful.
And,
It's very, very, very special thing.
Very special, yeah. Can't be more special than this.
Yeah. Yes. This is a very...
Especially when her grandparents are here as well. It makes it so special. She's come from India to celebrate her birthday.
And I was reminded our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, his picture is here. He joined the mission of his guru at the age of about 17, very young. And he described how he was working as a doctor's apprentice in a small village in West Bengal, Nadangat, and he had a happy life there. He used to play football with some of the local boys and like that. And then one day there was this group of brahmacharis who came from his guru's mission, this Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. And then every day they used to hold these gatherings in the center of the village, and they would discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, the scripture. And our Gurudev, he was captured hearing them, and there were 2 verses in particular that really struck him, and one of them I was reminded of it. Komara acharit pragyo dharma bhagavatam iha Dorlabam manusham janma tadapya juvam artadam. Saying that from the beginning of our life, as soon as we have a little sense, a little intelligence, then we should begin our spiritual journey. Yes, exactly. Because this dorlabam manusham janma, this human birth, it is very rare, it is dorlaba, so we must take full advantage of it. And okay, it is temporary, and there are some troubles involved, Tadapya juvam artadam. But artadam, it can give us everything, And this, we don't have so long to live, actually. You know, we sometimes live in this illusion that we're going to live forever, but we don't have so long. If we think about it, we don't have so long. So we want to take advantage of that. We don't want to waste time. Because sometimes there's this mentality, oh, when I get old, you know, that's when I'll start my spiritual practice. You know. Do you want to map it? You don't look comfortable. Are you sure? You can take this. You've got one, okay. Sometimes there's this idea, right, that when I'm old and when I finished everything else and I can't do anything else, I can't enjoy like I used to, you know. I lost my teeth and, and so on. You know, then I'll take up spiritual life. You know, there's this mentality. Even when I was like a young teenager, I used to think like that. You know, but God had other plans for me. So, but actually, we don't have time to lose. You know, we don't have time to lose. And we're very fortunate if from a young age, you know, some awakenment of consciousness, enlightenment, as our friend Ross here said, seeking enlightenment. That's why we are here. So it actually is a symptom that we have received some divine grace. If we have that consciousness, you know, especially from a young age, we have some awareness. Oh, you know, this is important. You know, this is going to be at the top of my to-do list. You know, not going to wait till tomorrow. And sometimes there may be different, you know, triggers, right? Different things that initiate this. You know, and it can be anything. You know, our Gurudev, he told of one story of a man who he lived a life, you know, as an average person in the world, and one day he was shopping at a marketplace. It was the evening time. It was coming to the end of the day. And so the sun was, you know, starting to set, and the shopkeepers were starting to wind up their business. And then there was one shopkeeper who shouted out, oh, the sun is setting. You know, we're going to, you know, everybody, like, buy your final items. You know, the sun is setting. We're going to end soon. Hurry up, everyone. This is your last chance. And there was this gentleman in the market, he heard this, and it was like a shock to him. And just hearing that phrase, oh, the sun is setting, you know, and he thought, oh, you know, I can't waste any time. The sun is setting, I'm losing time, you know. And then just hearing that, he became so inspired that he ended up, you know, giving everything up. He went to live in Vrindavan, and he spent the rest of his life in spiritual culture. You know. So this is a type of, you know, this is, sometimes we use this expression, Vartma Pradarshak Guru, you know, Guru who's pointing in the direction, you know. So like for yourself, your parents are like that, right? They're like your gurus in that sense. You're fortunate from your childhood. They're putting you in the right direction, you know, so you're going in that way. And also, going back to where we were beginning, Vishakha Devi Goswami, he was like 16 years old, you know, and he was born fully enlightened. We hear he stayed in the womb of his mother for 16 years. Shukadev, he is the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our principal scripture. And we hear he came out, he's the son of Vyasadev, no? Krishna Dvaipaya Veda Vyas, who was the great sage who compiled all of the Vedic texts. And his son came out at 16 years old, like fully grown. But he already had a clear picture of what's what in this world. And he wasn't interested. He immediately went running out to the forest. He had his priorities straight from day number one. So he immediately went running to the forest. And meanwhile, his father, Veda Vyas, right, he he'd done this incredible work of organizing all the Vedic texts. The 4 principal Vedas, right? The Upanishads, the Puranas, the Itihasas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and so on. It's a great, huge, vast work. For what cause? For the upliftment of the people at large, right? But somehow at the end of it all, he was feeling dissatisfied within himself. And he was feeling, I've done so much, but still I feel that something is missing, And so he was contemplating this and racking his brains and thinking, what's missing? What's missing? And then at that moment, his Gurudev, Narada Goswami, appeared to him. And, my Gurudev, you come at just the right moment, And actually our Guru, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he used this as an example of how Guru will appear when we have that necessity within our heart. As in the Bible, knock and the door will open, right? Ask and ye shall receive. So this is, Guru appears on this basis, according to the necessity of our heart. When we have that true urgent need in our heart for revelation, then the response will come to us. So at that moment when Vyasa was feeling that desperate need, then his Gurudev, Narada, appeared. And Veda Vyasa, he opened his heart, my Gurudev, I've done all this work, but somehow I feel something's missing. What have I done wrong? And then his Guru, he explained to him, what you've done is you've made a big khichdi. You've mixed everything together. You've mixed ideals of karma, right? You're the, worldly life of action in this plane. You've added to the mixed ideals of gyan, knowledge, yoga, austerity, all of these things. Hare Krishna, welcome. We have space in here if anyone wants to come in. And you've also included in the mix the ideal of bhakti, devotion, right, to the Supreme. You've put in different conceptions of what is the nature of the Absolute. Is the Absolute just some expansive white light that's encompassing everything? Or is the Absolute Paramatma, all penetrating, or is the highest manifestation of the absolute Bhagavan, the personality of divinity? You've included so many different conceptions here, but there's no clear systematic development of thoughts. There's no clarity. What is ultimately the highest goal, right? You've discussed dharma, artha, kama, moksha, duty, piety, wealth, sense pleasure, and moksha, liberation, as the highest, ideals of humankind. But does this really represent the highest attainment of the soul? So you haven't shown, as our Gurudev put it, you've given medicine for sick people, but you have not given a prescription for healthy people. No. So for people who are still attracted to the ideals of exploitation and renunciation, because generally we're moving between these two sides of the pendulum in this world, right? We want to enjoy, and then we suffer the results of that, and then we want to renounce everything, and the cycle goes on, right? So generally the religion that you presented is for sick people. But what about the healthy people? What about the people who've already realized that they are Atma and they just want to get on with things? What about those people who want to live a positive and progressive life within eternity? Does eternity just mean merging into nothingness, into oneness? Or is it possible there's a positive and progressive life within immortality? You haven't made that clear. And then he gave him some seeds, seed verses for the composition of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so then he began with Srimad Bhagavatam. But here in Srimad Bhagavatam, he is presenting Sri Krishna as the highest manifestation of divinity. And there's the third verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very beautiful. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shuka mukha. How does it go? Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shuka mukha. I can't remember. But it's comparing Srimad Bhagavatam to a ripe, sweet fruit that has appeared on the wish-fulfilling tree of the Vedas. The Vedas, they're compared to a wish-fulfilling tree. Why? Because they are fulfilling everyone's desires for dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. For within the realm of ordinary duty, wealth, sense pleasure, and liberation. Right? Even the ideal of liberation is not accepted by Srimad Bhagavatam, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Because we're still putting ourselves in the center, right? But the ideal of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Dev, of pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, is simply love. Nadanam, as Sri Chaitanya Dev prays, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamaye, Mama Janmani, Janmanishware, Bhavatad Bhakti, or Haitu Kitai. I don't want anything that this world has to offer. Not the wealth of this world, not the pleasure of this world, neither liberation from this world. But birth after birth, all I want is pure, causeless devotion for you, my Lord. That is all that I want. And somebody might say, oh, well, that doesn't sound like a very good deal. But let's think of it in this way. For someone to be able to make a statement like that tells you something. What type of higher fulfillment are they getting that they can say such a thing? Such a bold statement. I'm not interested in winning the lottery. I'm not interested in joining with so many beautiful women or beautiful men. I'm not interested in any of those things. Neither am I interested in the get out of jail card, get out of jail free card. I'm not interested in that either. So what does that tell you? What type of joy and what type of fulfillment is to be found in this higher consciousness? Our Guru Dev told one story about Sanatan Goswami, one of our principal acharyas, teachers, that he was living in Vrindavan, place of Krishna's birth, and there was one man who came to him and said, "Oh, I heard that you have a touchstone, which can turn anything into gold, right? And I'm very much in need of some money. Can I please have that?" And Sanatan Goswami said to him, "Oh yes, you can have it if you can find it. I think it's somewhere in that garbage heap over there. You can dig around there." And that man was very happy. "Oh, where is it? Where is it?" And so he went and he found it. And then he's about to leave. He thought, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What does this sadhu have? What does this saint have that makes him so indifferent to all the wealth, all the riches of this world? He must have some higher wealth, right? He must have something more." So he went back to Sanatan Goswami. He said, "Can can you help me? You know, can you give me what you have? You know. And Sanatan, he said, yes, I can. You know, but first you'll have to throw away that touchstone. So, you know, obviously we cannot all jump from A to Z, right? Or A to Z, or in England now. But we are trying to inform ourselves of this higher ideal of life, right? We're trying to keep our priorities, right? Most persons don't have the privilege of being able to live like someone like myself, you know, where we can leave the world behind, you know, so to speak. But, you know, generally persons have to, you know, you're going to have to go to, probably going to university soon and so on. So,
yes, we'll be going to university and the other one. And that's another thing.
Okay.
They all three will be going.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah,
So you have your, actually one point made in Bhagavad Gita is that we have two dharmas, right? We have our worldly dharma, we have our worldly duty. We cannot ignore that, you know. You know, just, you know, something as basic as having to wear clothes, right? We have to wear clothes, you know. Vishakha Devi Dasi, who we were speaking about, he didn't wear clothes. When he was born, right, 16 years old, he's so completely detached from mundane consciousness. He didn't even feel the necessity to wear clothes. He didn't even distinguish between male and female, right? So, but we cannot pretend that we are like that, right? You know, we have material consciousness, we have material needs, right? And we cannot pretend otherwise. So we have to take care of that side. But we, at the same time, we have to keep our perspective. We have to keep our priorities and understand that the only reason that I need to maintain my worldly dharma and my worldly existence is to be able to facilitate my higher dharma, you know, my spiritual dharma. That I am an eternal soul, that I'm a loving servant of the Lord, you know, and I need to invest in that also. You know. I need to give my attention to that also. So going back to our story, Vedavyas, you know, he received this instruction from his guru, and he composed the scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, which is promoting the ideal of pure devotion, you know, to the personality of divinity, Sri Krishna. But he also felt that I'm not the right person to announce this to the world. You know, I'm not the right person to present this. And he thought about this, and he realized that his son, who'd run away from home, was the perfect person. Why? Because he was known, and he was undeniably completely situated in divine consciousness. So nobody would question what would come from him. You know, as I said, you know, even he did not distinguish between male and female. Right? And there is one incident described that, you know, as he was running away, you know, he ran past some beautiful young women who were bathing in a lake, and the ladies, they could see his eyes were completely vacant of material distinction, right? And they could see he was not aware of any mundane consideration. So they felt no shyness. But then his father, Vedavyas, came running behind him, and then they all felt very shy, and they covered themselves very quickly. You know. So Vedavyas, he came to this conclusion that I have to ask my son, Vishakha Devi, to present the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and the teachings of pure devotion to the world. But then he had to face this challenge. How do I find my son? And so he composed these two verses describing the beauty of Krishna Lila. And he approached some Was that what the problem is?
I thought it's open up.
Is it they were? I'm not sure they were closed. I don't know what's happening.
Are you
with the
feeling
heating.
cold? You feeling cold?
It's a little cold, yeah.
We can do that.
We have that space here, but it's a bit noisy. That's the problem.
No problem.
Is it noisy?
It's the problem. I don't know what happened with the heaters.
The
We-
heaters are not working yet.
Yeah, I think they're not working. So he approached two woodcutters in the forest, and he said, as you're going about your work, please sing these shlokas, sing these verses, and you might see some wild-looking young man, meditating in the forest, and he'll probably approach you, and he'll ask you, where did you get these verses from? Then send him to me. So it happened like that. Shukadev was absorbed in his meditation on the Brahman aspect, the impersonal aspect of the divine. But when he heard these verses describing the personality of divinity, Sri Krishna, then he was shook by that. He was shaken by that and attracted to that. Oh, this is something more. Previously I was attracted to this impersonal, conscious expression, right? This light, all-encompassing light. But I'm feeling that this is something sweeter. This is something higher. This is something that's pulling my heart. And so he approached those woodcutters. Oh, where did you get these verses from? And then he sent them to Vyasadeva. And so Vyasadeva, he conveyed the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then meanwhile, we still have our king on the verge of death, right? Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, that's how we went off track. Now I remember. Parikshit Maharaj, he's been cursed to die, right? But actually he took it as a blessing. And another interesting thing, because he took it as an excuse to give up his worldly life. He was a king, right? And kings have this problem of too much enjoyment. Too much pleasure.
I think common people also want to enjoy a lot. Not only the kings. If they have plenty of money, they want to enjoy as well.
Everybody wants to
Everybody
enjoy.
wants to enjoy.
Everybody wants to
whatever
enjoy.
they have, yeah.
But this king, Parikshit, right? He's a spiritually minded king. This is the point. So he's not interested in all the pleasures that his position presents him with, right? And so he was happy to have an excuse to give up. Actually, he was also powerful. He could have counteracted the curse that he'd received. But he didn't. He was happy. So he was also known as a very pious king. He had given a lot of support to many Brahmins, to sages. And so when this news spread that he's on the verge of death, then many great persons congregated. And so he, on the banks of the Ganges River, he sat in meditation, and all these great sages began gathering. And then Parikshit, this great assembly formed. All these great thinkers and jnanis, tapasvis, and dhyanis, and representing different schools of thought. In the field of meditation, yoga, austerity, and so on. And so Parikshit Maharaj, he's surrounded by this grand assembly, and he inquires from them, please tell me, what is the best thing for someone like me who's on the verge of death? What is the best thing for them to do? And they're all coming with different opinions, right? You should chant these mantras, you should practice this austerity, you should do some fasting, you should give in charity, you should practice sense control, practice yoga, and so on. So many different opinions. And Parikshit Maharaj, he was becoming bewildered hearing this. And our Gurudev said, like Like if someone is sick, we all experience sometimes, someone is sick and everybody comes with a remedy, everybody comes with a different bottle of medicine, and you really don't know what to make of it all. You know? And then Shukadev arrives, right? And he's received the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam from his father. And so he arrives in this assembly, and it's interesting because he's naked, he looks like a jungle man, and as he was walking, it mentions there were these children who were throwing stones at him and think he's some madman, But when he arrived at this assembly, right, which is it's an assembly of enlightened persons, right? Talk about enlightenment. This is like, a few thousand enlightened persons in one place, and they can all recognize, oh, this is someone even more than ourselves, which that in itself is an interesting point, right? Because those foolish children, they're just seeing according to their mundane vision. Oh, this is a madman, right? But those who are enlightened, they can recognize, oh, this is not an ordinary man. Rather, he's more than us. And so they all universally, they gave him the seat of honor. And they wanted to hear from him. Well, what is his response to this? And then first of all, Shukadev, he commends Parikshit. He says, actually, this is the question. This is the only question. There's no other question. And he says, one of the things he says there is that, you've been told you only have 7 days left to live, but actually, time is not what is required. Oh, and that reminds me, another thing I wanted to mention. Our Gurudev made this point that actually, like if you know how long you have to live, it's actually a type of blessing, because you can prepare yourself, right? Because generally we don't know, right? It could happen anytime, anywhere. But if you're, like normally if we hear, oh, you only have like 6 months left to live, then everybody's very sad, everyone's crying. But from a spiritual perspective, that's good news. Like, oh, okay, I know how long I have. Then I can begin to prepare myself. I can get ready. I can put my priorities in order. Right?
So in fact, it's a good thing. Everybody should know that how long we are on the planet.
But I think we just keep worrying about it. But
And then waste the time worrying about it.
Warriors, yeah.
Won't accept it that we have to leave it.
Yeah.
Very true.
But like sometimes we see people who know their relatives have cancer, and they get prepared that okay, they are going to pass away. So they are much better prepared than those whose relatives pass away. Just suddenly.
So Shukadev, he told Parikshit Maharaj, actually, you're saying you only have 7 days. That is more than enough time. Just to have time, that is not the factor. And he said, there are so many living entities. They're living for so many ages of time. And what is really the benefit of that? What is the real worth of that? Nowadays there's all this research going into, like anti-aging or, living for such long periods of time. And I really don't understand it. What is the purpose of that? And when we have some awareness, right, that, this is not the be-all and end-all, then it changes our perspective on everything. But then Shukadev, he also said, actually, just one moment of full consciousness, that is more than enough. And he told this story also of one Katvanga Maharaj. He was a great king who he helped the devas, he helped the demigods in some battle against the asuras, the demons. And then the demigods, they wanted to give him some boon, and said, "Oh, we are so happy with how you've helped us." He was a very powerful king. He was a human, but somehow he had some special power. And so the Devas were very grateful. And what can we give to you? And Khatvanga Maharshi responded, "Well, first, let me ask you one question. How much longer do I have to live?" And they told him, "Oh, we can see that you only have a moment left." So this king, he immediately abandoned the demigods, and he fully absorbed himself in connection with the Lord, with divinity. And he achieved everything in that one moment. So Shukadev made this point to him, that time is not the factor, but one moment of full consciousness, that can give you everything. Everything can come in that one moment. So, we are living as Atma, right? As spirit, but we are also within these encasements, right? Of the mind, the body, the senses. And in Bhagavad Gita, there are these terms, the Deho and Dehi, right? Deho is the body, Dehi, the person inside of the body, the embodied, very, very helpful, very helpful. And sometimes the gaps, right? All these layers are there, right? The senses, the mind, the intellect, the ego, the ahankar, and then there is the soul, the atma. And generally all these lines, they're very close together. The separating layers, they're very tight. And so we cannot perceive the difference. We cannot perceive the distinction. But when we have some divine blessing, then the covering lifts. Sometimes just momentarily, But those moments are very precious, as we were mentioning at the beginning. They help to recenter us, to give us that focus. Why am I really here? What is the real purpose of my life? So we're very happy that our friend here at such a young age, she has that kind of purpose, in her life. And that is something that you will always hold on to. It will always stay with you. It will not leave you. It will stay with you. So, and you're also blessed. You have such strong support in your family for this path. You're very blessed. You have a head start. You have a head start. Does anyone have any comments or questions or anything at all?
Well, we all have one question: how to focus? Because whenever we pray, we always get distracted, or our mind goes somewhere else. Even when we pray to the God. So how we could achieve that one?
Well, we are in Kali Yuga, right? Right. I think everybody's heard about Kali Yuga. Even if you haven't heard of it, you know it, believe me. You're living it. You're experiencing it. It is the age of quarrel, distraction, degradation. Yes, it is a fact. And actually in this age, we don't have the capacity to give that type of focus. Generally speaking, we don't have that capacity. Persons in previous ages, they could sit for years at a time in meditation without needing, food, water, entertainment. Generally, we need to be entertained every 5 minutes, right? And modern technology is just making that even worse. So, what is the solution? Does that mean, oh, then we'll just give up, right? It doesn't matter then. Let's just do whatever we want. Let's just give in to it, right? No, there's a plan. Don't worry, everyone. They thought about that. There are people who considered that point. So then, Harinam Sankirtan. This is why Kirtan, and especially Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the Lord's name, has been especially prescribed as the Dharma for this age. It is the Yuga Dharma. The Dharma, it is the religion of this age. Because of that, because we ourselves, we have goldfish brains, and the environment is also very distracting. The senses are more strong in this age. And the environment is so polluted, becoming more and more degraded. So it is a very difficult time for spiritual focus and spiritual practice. So it is for that reason that the practice of Kirtan has been prescribed. It's very simple, very accessible. It is pleasing if you're lucky to have, talented kirtaniyas like we have here. It is something that engages you in a natural way. In Satya Yuga, the prescribed dharma was yoga and meditation, right? And then we hear in the next age yajna, right? Fire sacrifice, and then puja, archan, right? Worship of the deity. But in this age, to maintain the level of purity, focus, mental qualification, capacity for all of those other practices, we are doing some token form, right? We do. Now our pujaris are probably thinking, what do you mean a token form? But compared to like higher standards of puja, it is actually somewhat simple what we do. Believe it or not. And fire sacrifice, like nowadays many people, they can't pronounce the mantras properly, especially in the West. It's easier for Indians. Our Gurudev used to joke about that. Like he said once, he was listening to some Westerners doing a fire sacrifice, and he said, they're putting their guru in the fire. Like, they don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're saying. So in this age, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come with this movement of Kirtan, and even before that, this is described in the scriptures. Srimad Bhagavatam, we're told, is the final Vedic text. And what is the last verse? 18,000 verse treatise. What is the final verse? Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Pranamas Tam Namami Harim Param. Let us all bow to this Nam Sankirtan, chanting of the holy name of the Lord. By whose grace, all pop, all sin, all dukkha, all suffering, sorrow will be removed. So in this dark age, this great sun of the holy name has appeared. And that can be practiced, silently, audibly, singly, congregationally, in any form. And I always remind myself when I get so much, because sometimes we feel everything's falling apart, there is no hope, and then I remember, oh yeah, we have the holy name, and you don't need anything for that. It is the sound plane, right? It is a subtle plane. You don't need any special paraphernalia, some special ingredient. You don't need to take a shower and be facing a particular direction and be fasting and so on, right? But anywhere, anytime, any place, any person, with initiation, without initiation, there's no restriction. So it is a very wonderful thing. It is a very special grant that is especially given for the people of this age. And it is also very powerful, potent, and also very natural. It's very natural, to express our hearts, through song, through prayer. It is a very universal expression that you find in almost every religion, some type of kirtan. And it is a very powerful practice also. It is like one analogy one of our gurus mentioned, like if someone is, like in a hospital, there's the general ward, right? And then you have the emergency ward. And the emergency patients are getting the most attention, right? The best medicine, the best doctors, they're good. They're in a privileged, emergency patients are in a privileged position, right? They're getting special attention. So it is like that. This age, it's like we're in a, in this age, it's like we're in an emergency situation. So we're being given special attention, some special medicine, some very potent medicine. So we have to try and remember that. Krishna, welcome. Good to see you. These are all your friends, huh? You invited them.
Everyone is my friend, Didi. You know I'm involved there.
Vishakha Devi.
Yes.
Could you also say, like, for example, the Holy Scriptures? Like, of course, the Holy Name is always the highest and the best. But also to read the Holy Scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord is presenting Himself in His holy name, but also in the Scriptures, that we read about Him, how beautiful and wonderful He is, and then we will develop faith. Then our faith in that other realm, in that area, that spiritual world, will become stronger, and then we get maybe more the necessity to read and to chant.
Yes, I mean, another thing that we can add is association. Because actually, everything depends on our feeling of need. Right? So this point Chachi Didi is bringing up, right? That really, in order to progress, to advance, we have to feel a need for it, right? And generally in the world, people are not feeling that need. If you need something, you will find a way. It's like if you need to go to the bathroom, you'll find a toilet or a bush or something, or a ditch, but you need to go to the bathroom, right? Or if a mother needs to give birth, that's just an unavoidable moment that's going to take place. You can't avoid that. If you're hungry, right, you will find some food. So this is what we call laulyam, right? Hunger, and this is mentioned by our gurus. Tacha laulyam apimulyam ekalam. That you can only get this higher spiritual, devotional consciousness through your own hunger for it. So this is actually the question, right? How can we realize this hunger for spiritual life, this hunger for God? How can we realize that need? That's the question. And so then there are many things that we can do to try to awaken that, and so many things. Studying trying to regularly read the scripture. The main thing is, as our Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he answered this on one occasion: associate with hungry people. If you associate with hungry people, you will also start to feel that hunger. Your perspective will start to change. Like so many other things which I previously thought were so important, now I'm not so sure anymore. Now I'm hearing another version. Now I'm questioning my own version. No, this makes more sense. And here's another thing too. It's not like this is just some arbitrary thing that we're doing because it's a nice thing to do, but this actually represents the true need of our soul. So that's the thing, that once we start to wake up a little bit, everything will just be very natural. It's not that we'll need to take time out to practice spiritual life. Like, I have to do this. I want to do this. So once we start to like mature in our spiritual, heart and focus, then it will become a need that we feel within ourselves. And it won't be that we have to, artificially, orchestrate a time of day when well, there's a place for that. That's called sadhana, right? We're trying to implement some sadhana, some regulated practice in our lives. But the final idea is that our heart is automatically moving towards this. And so the most efficient means by which to make that happen is to associate, to take the company of those who have that already awakened within them. And then we'll start to feel that urgency. We'll start to feel that hunger. We'll start to feel that need. Oh, this isn't something really abstract or something people in the Himalayas do, or something that only boring people do, or whatever.
So that's what I was asking. Like when we pray, even when we pray, our mind gets distracted. Oh, means we chanting, but head goes somewhere else.
Yes.
And we try to bring it back. Yes?
Right.
So does that happen to you as well when you pray that we're doing something wrong?
No, that is normal. That is normal because we are in a very mixed up state right now, right? Since time immemorial, we've been identifying with the consciousness that I am in the center, I am the enjoyer, I am number one. The consumer consciousness, controlling consciousness, exploiting consciousness. And now we're trying to move away from that. We're trying to move towards the need of the soul. So there's going to be a transition period, right? Ignorance is bliss, right? But once you start trying to wake up a little, then it's not so straightforward. But there's going to be, we cannot immediately jump from here to there. There's going to be some transition period. So we have to expect all of those things. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam saying that two types of people are happy. Ignorant people and enlightened people. Then everyone else in the middle, they're suffering. They're struggling. That movement from here to there, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So it's all, just, one of the symptoms. Like, if you go to a doctor's office, oh, I'm experiencing this, I'm experiencing that. Yes, yes, yes. All these things like, yes, you're a conditioned soul. You are a human. Yes, that's normal. Don't worry. Keep taking the medicine, right? Keep following the prescription. Work through it. Join a support group. That's what this is. This is a support group. People becoming free from Maya, illusion. So yes, it is normal. And this is why Sambandha Gyan is so important. Right? Sambandha Gyan, our gurus use this phrase. Knowledge, proper knowledge of what is what and who is who. Having proper knowledge of who we are. And then we see these things going on and we can recognize, oh, this is the mind. Oh, this is the senses. Oh, this is the intellect. Oh, this is my ego. Right? The scriptures describe all these different layers. Then I just recognize this is what's happening right now. Like you're carrying out a scientific experiment. Different elements are combining and creating different reactions, and you're watching as an observer. So like within ourselves, all these, our head is like this, like the stage of a drama, right? And all these things are playing out. Like, oh, here's the voice of my ego. Oh, here's the pull of my senses. But you can recognize who is I is somebody different. Just we need to become observers, right? Now my mind is playing up. Like, okay, just let it go on. But the main point is that we're not feeding into those things, right? Because normally our mind projects certain things and we go along with it. And then we are supporting that whole cycle. But if we just recognize, oh, my mind, my body, my senses, they're moving in this direction, I'm just going to watch that. I'm not going to act on it, right? We may have the urge. It's like, say you're chanting the name of God, and in your mind you're thinking, oh, I wonder what happened in EastEnders. I don't know if they still show EastEnders anymore. When I was a kid in England, EastEnders was big. It's a television show. I wonder what happened in EastEnders. But are you going to stop your chanting and go look it up, what happened? No. So just my mind's playing out. Just let it play out. I'm not going to act on it. Or I want to go smoke a cigarette or drink a beer or whatever it may be, Are you going to go and act on that? No, you're just going to let your mind play that out. Because you've created these impressions, right? By our previous activity, we've created particular impressions. So normally these things move in this cycle where we have the desire, we act upon it, then that's creating an impression. And that creates the desire to do it again, then we're doing it again, and then there's this whole cycle which is perpetuating itself. So we cannot expect to become free from that immediately, right? So that old taste will remain within us for some time. Those useless mental thoughts, they'll remain with us for some time. But if we stop feeding them, then they'll shrivel up and die eventually. They may scream. Like sometimes children, they'll have a temper tantrum. I want that toy, Daddy, or whatever. I want that. Give it to me now. And sometimes the parents will just let the child have their tantrum, ignore them, and then they forget about it, surprisingly quickly. So it is like that. Our mind has particular impressions and desires, and they'll scream for that sometimes. But if we ignore it, then they'll just have to, they'll lose interest. They'll get bored. Or they'll die with starvation. So yes, we have to a certain extent, we have to tolerate ourselves, right? We have to tolerate ourselves. And it will pass, And the bright day will dawn. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarvasamshaya chiyante chashakarmini mayi drishte kilatmani. These are some beautiful verses in Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna is discussing exactly this point, and he's describing this struggle that the soul will move through, like shifting from the mundane to the divine. And then this last verse is saying, like describing the final stage, that vidyate hridaya is the heart, grantis, knots. The knot on the heart will be pierced. Chidyante sarvasham, all of our doubts will be removed. And kiyante chashakarmani, the entanglement of karma, that will be cut. Mayidrishte kilatmani, and they will see me everywhere. I will arise within their heart. They will see me in all my glory everywhere. So yes, we have to work through these things. We have to bear through these things. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. And the best part is we're not alone. Everybody's struggling with the same thing.
And normally people just, if you talk about, let's say we have a party, as you said, for the 18th birthday, people wouldn't expect you to do a kirtan. You should have a beer party. That is a party. So they would write, how come you're doing a kirtan on the 18th? So that's why I was telling my daughter that, how important it is to make the people understand that it is about being happy and joyful and have the mercy of Lord, rather than thinking about the beer, a glass of beer, and having a party with that.
Yes. Well, you've been a wonderful audience here today, and thank you so much for your good company.
Thank you so much, Madhuri. Yeah, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. It's our pleasure to listen to your wonderful speech today. Jyoti Mataji was talking about you earlier.
I told Gauri that Vishakha Devi is here, so it's good to have
the Kirtan, yeah.
Oh, we're so happy that you brought your friends here. Very, very happy.
Thank you.
It's Krishna. And I agree with gentleman's question, Vivi. I do chanting, do puja in the morning, but my brain is not in the chanting, my brain is Krishna.
You're thinking about...
I can't concentrate.
So what are you concentrating on, a glass of beer?
No, obviously there's no beer in my life, but if there's something else, I don't know.
We all struggle with the same thing.
Yeah.
We all struggle with the same thing.
You're a too materialistic person, yeah?
Materialistic, I'm just
Trying to get away from all that materialistic work. It's hard.
And anything comes in mind and it distracts. My wife, Suman, today asked me, okay, you do the puja and I will make some bhog. Okay? So, now, in my whole puja, my mind was in the bhog.
Oh, that's very honest answer, Sumanji, yeah?
A few months ago, in one of my talks, I was speaking about this, like whatever we hear about, then we start to desire that thing, right? And so I mentioned, for example, pizza.
Yeah.
If somebody says pizza, then everybody want pizza, right?
Oh, that's a party, yeah.
So we published this on YouTube, and one of my friends, he's a professor of religion actually, and he wrote to me saying, like as soon as I heard you say pizza, I went to go put a pizza in the oven. Immediately. That's the way our minds work. So, but we are hopeful. We are keeping good company. We're not losing the spirit, right? And we shall go on.
Vishakha, I
Yes,
also heard, like there are two things we never have to forget, and that is to always think of Krishna and never forget Krishna.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So if we can't remember Krishna, we can remember that.
Yeah. So even if I'm like very, very upset with him, I keep saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna in my mind because I really want to scream at him. But I try to stop sometimes, and sometimes when I do, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So because always think, oh, you're so upset, you're angry, you say what you want to say. I say no, Krishna, 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 because I really don't want to make my karmic account wrong because he does lots of things which makes me go mad. But it's really hard sometimes to stop yourself. But you start practicing Krishna, you keep saying Krishna, 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 even in whatever mood you are.
And the holy name, that's easy.
It is time for Arati now. We're running late, but
Yes,
I'll just.
thank you so
Can
much.
I just say one last thing? I just wanted to say one last thing that ultimately we don't want this to be something forced. We want this to be something natural. So we just have to be patient. We don't want to force anything, right? Okay.
Vishakha Devi ki
Jai. Jai Shri Guru Dev. Should we ask Nitai to sing? We haven't had him for a while. What did you? Oh, you, okay.
Trying to get away.
We have to.
Strongly request. Radha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Krishna Radha
Jai